Welcome to the Next Step Podcast. This is episode number 12, and I'm glad it's episode number 12 because that is the lucky number of our guest today, Nate Seedorf. Nate, great to see you. Thanks for coming to be with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for coming to be part of our church family, too. Remember the day that I saw you pull in the parking lot and I saw some Charlotte stuff on the back, and I said UNCCC, and you were very careful to tell me, even though I'm a UNCC alumnus, got one of my degrees from there, back when it still says that on there. You said it's Charlotte now, right? So that's got to be cool.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like people are like, oh yeah, UNCC, and I'm like biting my tongue, like don't be mean, don't be rude, like don't do it. We're trying to drop the UNC out of our name. We don't want to be affiliated with that school up in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So that's the meaning behind it.
Pretty much.
It's kind of like we're Charlotte.
Yeah, we are Charlotte.
And so today we got some good news for Charlotte alumni, right? What happened?
Absolutely. We won the Conference USA baseball tournament. We're coming for you, Smokey.
Awesome.
Playing Tennessee.
Fantastic. Well, maybe by the time this is settled, Charlotte will have made it to the top. But if not, it's great just to have made it at this level, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting a T-shirt for sure.
I like it.
Adding to my collection of,
Yeah, so
green.
show us your shirt you got now. There's a Charlotte shirt.
Sir.
There's a Charlotte Nation hat.
Yeah.
He's an all Charlotte guy. I mean, you're the most loyal alumnus that's got to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Good deal. So tell us about Nate. So kind of tell where are you from and how'd you grow up? And I know you've got a beautiful wife, Kaylee, right?
Yep.
And hello, I will say hello to Kaylee. Good to see you out there. Thanks for loaning Nate to us this afternoon.
Yep.
And kind of tell us your story.
Got a lot of free time, so.
Good deal.
So, yeah, I was born in Northwest Florida in a little town called Cottondale. It's about an hour north of Panama City, about 30 minutes south of Alabama. So in that weird part of the Panhandle, I call it real Florida. It's not North Cuba. It's not Disney World.
Yeah.
It's like where you get all the rednecks and the gators and, all that kind of stuff.
Real Florida.
Real Florida. Really deep in the Bible Belt. Like you can't drive in a town for more than 5 minutes without seeing a Baptist church.
Gotcha.
If it's not Baptist, it's Assembly of God, Pentecostal, that kind of stuff. So that's where I was born. My dad was a Southern Baptist preacher. My mom was the minister of music. So grew up in church.
So we're both recovering preachers' kids.
Yeah, it's an ongoing battle. Yeah, so every aspect of my life was in church. I went to the private Christian school in the local town. Just always involved in that. But then my dad took a job to be a full-time pastor in Wake Forest, which is not the university.
Okay.
The actual town of Wake Forest where the college was founded.
Right.
Moved up there when I was about, I think, 11 or 12. And immediately got mom's ministry of music again. And everything was involved in church and stuff.
Cool. That's a beautiful little town, by the way.
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest is beautiful.
It's
place.
changed a lot since I've been there last.
Yeah, it's really grown up a lot, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It really has. It's. I had to put stuff in the GPS last time I was there. I'm like, I don't know where I am.
That's cool. It's a cool place. I did some study abroad with them back in 2016. It was very meaningful. Anyway, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Came up here. My first year here, I went to public school for the first time, and it was really cool. But my parents still wanted me in the Christian school to be taught with the Christian stuff, and so they put me in the private school in Henderson called Crossroads.
Okay.
The school had only been around for a year before, and they were still trying to figure everything out. And was there for middle school. My parents, I got tired of it. I hated it. Middle school in and of itself is hard.
Yeah.
But, preacher's kid at a Christian school in middle school.
Yeah.
And, I'm not in good shape right now, but I was a pretty chunky kid back then, so wasn't easy. Parents were like, okay, fine, we're going to put you in the local public school.
Yeah.
They wanted me to play sports and stuff, so I went to Wake Forest Roseville High School.
Yeah.
Last graduating class there, the school split, so last one, class of 13.
Fantastic.
Go Cougars. Graduated from there, came to Charlotte, and been around here ever since. Graduated in 2017. So
Yep.
Proud alumni, obviously.
Awesome. So tell us some of the things that kind of work that you've done. Project management and
so up until about a couple months ago, I was with the Fastenal company.
Okay.
I was a lean solution specialist.
Okay.
basically, all I can really say is like it was like playing high stakes Legos. I'd go in there and build stuff, organize things, get all this data and analyze it, and try to say, hey, this is how we can save you money, but you're going to end up spending more money with us, but saving you money in the long run.
Right.
Trying to convince people of that. So
Sure.
it was a fun job when I started, and this is a lot of traveling and stuff. But once me and Kaylee got married, it was like I kind of want to spend more my time around here.
Sure.
So
Understandably. So tell us about some of your spiritual journey, kind of where you've gone on your spiritual journey. Because when you grow up a preacher's kid, you're kind of under this microscope all the time, right? And everybody's very careful to say, well, you're not supposed to do that because you're the preacher's kid, whether you're in school or whether you're in church or whatever. And so as a result of that, a lot of times people like me, people like you sometimes go through rebellion. And so I certainly did. I was kind of a sneaky mean kid, though. I wasn't very publicly mean.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't a very good kid. I take that back. I was a great kid until middle school.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I didn't really see myself as the preacher's kid. I was just another kid. Like I'd always been around these people. They always knew me. Like, it was just, I didn't really think about it that way until I moved up here.
Right.
And the big change from going from a small, like maybe 100-person church where Dad was part-time,
right,
in a town that has less than 200 people in it, it didn't really affect me that way. Like I didn't really notice being the preacher's kid or whatever. But I really noticed it when I moved to North Carolina, where it was I would say more relaxed Southern Baptist church, but still the church itself had a history of mistreating its preacher and the preacher's family, the pastor's family.
Yeah, that's hard.
And so immediately after like 2 or 3 months, but I was like, they're watching you. They're watching you. Got to be good. And that's when I started to notice it a lot more of like, like I'm under this microscope. I'm living in this fishbowl.
Yeah.
And it really didn't start hitting me harder until actually in middle school,
right,
where there were other preachers' kids there, but because several of the teachers also went to my dad's church, whatever happened in school would, translate back and like they'd just go straight to my dad.
Yeah.
So I was always under that microscope. People, didn't really, I don't want to say they didn't want to be my friend or anything, but it was very selective over like what they were going to do when we hung out. And this is just middle school. You're just riding bikes and playing video games. It wasn't like anything bad, but they weren't going to bring Call of Duty over. They weren't going to bring, this movie or that movie over.
Yeah.
And so, it was like, I didn't really feel like I was, I'm trying to think of the right word. I just didn't really feel like I was accepted there.
Right.
I was always kind of like, here's the circle, and here I am.
We got to be different around Nate because he's special.
Right. Like it was just, all these other kids got their free passes because they all went to school together since they were, little. And then, here comes this other kid who's now a preacher's kid who's, who's here. And,
and it's hard to move in middle school. I mean,
right.
And that age, because you've got so many friendships are established. To me, it's almost like, have you ever heard the story about the fish are swimming in water and this one fish swims by the two baby fish and he says, how's the water? And they look at him and say, what's water? Because they're so immersed in it, they don't know. You were kind of like that in Florida, but once you came up here, it was very much different.
Very different.
Right.
But, it wasn't all bad, though. I, was 6th grade. This when I actually made the official and like, I'm going to be a Christian. I want to accept Jesus and all that stuff. And I was excited because the whole school was like, it was like one of those like mini revival things where the whole school was in it. And a bunch of us were like, like I'm going to be a Christian. Like I'm going to follow Jesus and stuff. And so, I did accept Christ when I was at that school. It wasn't all bad, but immediately after, like within, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 weeks, everything just went back to the status quo.
Okay.
And I was like, I really can't stand this. Like, I don't like this. And then a couple years went by. It was 8th grade. And it was just, 8th grade was the worst year.
Yeah.
It was just so much bullying, so much people picking on, like, you're friends one day, you're not friends the next day. And, like, it's middle school. It doesn't really matter. But as a middle schooler, it's very important.
Sure.
And
you want to be accepted.
Yeah, and so we had just had like a week-long chapel thing where every morning went to the chapel. Like basically the whole school is rallying around everything, like, oh, we're gonna be kind to everyone, we're gonna love everyone, like everyone is, you know, God's children, we're gonna do great and everything.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, again, back to
The
status quo.
shine is worn off of that, right?
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? These people are horrible.
Yeah.
Like I can't say, like, if these are, so this is like when I was in 8th grade is when I first time I ever said, like, if these people are what Christians are supposed to be like, then I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
If this is what they're supposed to, like, mimicking God and Jesus, then I don't believe in that.
Right.
And I called my friend who you're going to get to meet on Sunday. I was like,
Okay, cool.
I was like, I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. God's not real. And, you know, it's kind of like the C.S. Lewis moment where it's like he was mad at God for not being real.
Yeah.
Like, a part of me always still kind of believed it.
Right.
To an extent, but at
But
the
you were
same
mad
time,
at God right then.
I was angry
there
at
was
God.
one.
Yeah, I was angry at God because how can a loving God, let all this stuff happen?
Right.
It just wasn't right. And so
So what's your friend's name?
Nathaniel,
Nathaniel?
yeah.
Nathaniel's coming up. So you're being baptized this Sunday. I'm getting ahead of the story too much, but let's get back here.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, but he is like, what happened? And I told him, I mean, sometimes faith isn't easy. And I'm like, well, it should be. And that was my whole response. Well, it should be. Like, why do we have to go through all this crap? Why does it have to be so hard? Why do the Christians have to be the worst people I've ever met in my life? Mm-hmm. And so they took me out of Christian school, put me in public school where no one knew I was a preacher's kid. I loved it.
Yeah.
Then, you know, a lot of the just no one cared if you were Christian or not. Like, most of the people were Christians, but they didn't care if you didn't believe in God or whatever. And everything was great, you know. But, like, I just went through high school just not believing. But what really cemented me saying, like, this stuff isn't real, God's not real, and God doesn't care, was when my dad got fired from the church when I was in 10th grade. And that it destroyed him mentally and emotionally, and just broke apart our family.
Right.
It was probably one of the worst, I would say the worst times of my whole family.
Right.
Because we weren't sure how we were going to, like, pay rent. We're sure, not pay rent, but pay the bills.
Right.
I had just gotten a job, you know, and immediately he's like, well, I'm going to need you to help out with the car or something. I'm like, all right, fine. Like, you're in 10th grade, you just got your license, your dad buys you a car, then he loses his job, and he's like, well, if you want to keep the car, you got to do this.
You gotta pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
What kind of job were you doing?
I was working at a golf shop.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to manage the tee times, and then afterwards I would go into the warehouse and just, like, sharpen all the blades.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, that really made me be like, Christians, and specifically the churchianity people, were just the worst, because they were like, well, the bylaws say this, and, you know, he's broken the bylaws, and he's hurt these people, and he's said this and said that, and I don't know how much of it was true or not. I don't care still to this day.
So your dad.
But you know, you basically strung them up and left them out to dry with no consideration of everybody else.
Right.
And so, you know, that was in 10th grade, 11th grade, you know, still kind of went on my little wild streak because, you know, I'm not the preacher's son anymore. I'm not a preacher's son anymore. It was great. Really started dabbling in some other things as well. But, you know, just didn't really care.
Right.
And so I was going to apply to college. You know, I was still considered Florida my home. It's where I spent all my spring breaks, my Christmases, my summers down in Florida.
Yep.
And I was like, you know, I'm going back to Florida. I'm going back to Florida. This is the good part. This is the good part of the story, by the way.
So you're senior, you graduate, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, my senior year, even when I was a junior in college or high school, I was like, you know, I'm only going to be here for one more year. I'm not going to get too attached to anybody. I'm only going to be here for one more year.
Yeah.
And
so you go start doing your research and
yeah, started doing all my research and everything. Well, senior year rolls around, get my SAT scores back, started applying for colleges and stuff. And I applied for a few in North Carolina, but I applied for a bunch in like this real south part.
Yeah.
Like Alabama. I would have never gone to school in Alabama. But, you know, if my mom went to school in Monticello.
Yeah.
So she was like, yeah, you should apply there, your legacy. So I was applied there, applied to Troy, Georgia Southern, Florida State, then a bunch of community colleges because I knew it was going to be expensive being out of state.
Right.
I'm like, I can
So
just go
Monticello, clarify, where is that? A college or
it's
is that?
it's in Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah,
A
I don't know
private
if they call
college?
it. I think so.
Okay.
But I knew that if I were going to go down to Florida, I would have to be there at resident for a year,
Yeah.
and I would have to, at least I can start my college career, get a few credits, be there for a year, and then transfer into Florida State because that was always my dream school.
Florida State.
Always my dream school. I was garnet and gold through and through.
Yeah.
I watched every game. I cried when Bobby Bowden retired.
Yeah.
I was dedicated.
He's a great man.
And, so I'm starting to get all these packages and stuff in saying like, oh, you got accepted to Tallahassee Community. You got accepted to Chipola Community. You got accepted to Gulf Coast State. And I was still waiting for Florida State to come in. I'm like, all right, come on. Like, I'm going to make it work. If I get in, I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
Well, I called the admissions office because I had to pay the application fee and I couldn't figure it out. So I called the admissions office and I was like, hey, this is my number, blah, blah. Like, okay, pulled it up. And the lady goes, huh. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, so you want to pay the application fee? And I'm like, yeah, I want to pay the application fee. I want to go to Florida State and I have to apply and get in.
Right.
And to finish applying, I have to pay this application fee. She goes, are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, yes, I want to pay, take my $50. This is my dream school. I want to go. She goes, I'll be honest with you. I've seen out-of-state kids with better transcripts than yours, and they still didn't get in.
Oh,
I was like, so you're basically telling me I'm not getting in?
Wow.
She goes, no.
So unethical too. Good night.
Well, I mean, she saved me $50. That was nice, but I still I resent them for that. I'm like,
Sure.
you could just taken my money and let me not get in the normal way.
Yeah.
But you told me over the phone I wasn't getting in. Wow. And so then I was like, okay, well, I got into all these other schools and started opening it up, and I started looking at the financial aid packets. And because I was out of state, I did not qualify for most of the financial aid packages for Florida schools, for Florida community colleges. And even then, it was I wasn't going to get any loans. I wasn't going to get any grants. And I would have to pay out-of-state tuition per credit hour, and it was going to be just too much. Mm-hmm. And I just was shook. I was angry. I was upset. And Mom was like, you still, this whole time, I was like, you need to pray about where you want to go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm praying about it. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go wherever God wants me to go, but God wants me to go to Florida State. That's where God wants me to go. He wants me in Florida.
So did you kind of feel like you'd really kind of made a migration back to God to some degree, or just a little bit, or were you just kind of saying, I'm going to pretend I'm going to go along with the program because Mom wants me to?
I was just, humoring my mom, Mom,
That's
I'm
good
praying.
way to
I'm praying. I'm praying, God. I'm praying, Mom. I know, but I'll go wherever God wants me to go. But it's Florida State is where He wants me to go. Why would He make me such a dedicated fan if I wasn't going to go to Florida State?
Yep.
Well, so finally, for the first time probably in years, I actually was angry again, and I was like, I want you to show me, make it so obvious where you want me to go that I can't deny it.
Wow.
It has to be so plain, so clear.
Yeah.
That a blind man can see it. I don't mean you probably, this is your best offer. No, it has to be so obvious where you want me to go that I can't deny it.
Right.
And, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking there's no way that God doesn't do this stuff. In the Bible, it's always oh, He turned over the sheep skin and it had the dust on it or whatever. That, something like that is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just to check it out, I opened up my financial aid package for Charlotte. 100%, no money out of pocket.
Wow.
And
yeah, that's big.
Yeah, and I broke down because I did not want to go to Charlotte. I was like, I don't want to go there. This is not where I'm supposed to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm crying and I'm upset. Ended up crying myself to sleep that night. Overslept, and I ran the next morning. Still had to go to school. Ran in my closet, grabbed a shirt, jumped in the car, drove to school. And the first thing one of my friends says is, "Hey, I didn't know you were going to Charlotte," because I accepted it last night. And I was like, "Yeah, how do you know?" She goes, "You're wearing the shirt."
Oh, really?
And I was like,
"You grabbed the shirt that they sent you because you're
the
accepted?"
the one Charlotte shirt that I had that was in my closet somewhere on the floor happened to be the same shirt that I grabbed.
Wow.
The day after I got accepted, and I was like, all right, well played, God. Okay. So that's kind of what got me to believing in, that there is a God again. And then I'm the kind of person that likes facts.
Yep.
I like being able to, if there's no evidence of something,
Mm-hmm.
just the absence of evidence does not mean the absence of reality. Like, it's just,
Right.
there needs to be something that I can see. Like, there has to be proof.
Right.
And I was a history student, and my focus was
Your major, right?
Right, it was my major, minor in film, but
Right.
major in history, and I always loved the Greco-Roman history,
Okay.
and a big portion of it was the late Republic, early Empire, and when I was reading through that stuff, a lot of the things were matching up, like, oh, this happened, and the Bible says this also happened. That's interesting. Like, oh, this happened here, like this happened there, like, so starting to kind of piece, I was like, okay, well, the Bible's probably not 100% wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, okay,
So you began to believe it more because it was verified by the evidence
Right.
of history.
I mean, like, I can say whatever I want to, but if I don't have anything to back it up with, who's going to believe it? Well, now there's so much proof that a lot of the stuff that happened in the Bible actually happened.
Yep.
And so that kind of got me thinking, like, okay, this is probably the right one. This is real. And being that I studied the ancient Romans and stuff, one of the big things is Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
And a lot of what I was reading kind of made me want to learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I eventually signed up for RCIA, which is confirmation to be a part of the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a year-long class, one night a week. It's not hard, but whenever I was sitting there listening to the priest talk, it's like, wow, this actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They're explaining things in ways that are easy to understand, but if you want to dig deeper, you can.
Right.
And one of my big things about growing up in the Bible Belt, and especially going to the really fundamental Christian school, was if you think anything outside of what's written in the old King James,
Right.
you're wrong and you're evil and you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Like, but they were telling me, is like, as long as you agree on the big things, you can debate the little things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the, it was like the third or fourth week we were there, they're like, a lot of people think the earth is 6,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The priest, he said, I think it's millions of years old. And I was like, so do I.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, what's to say that evolution wasn't, we were actually looking at how God made everything. And I'm like, oh, that's what I've been struggling with, because a lot of people will say that's wrong. And at the end of the day, does it matter? No, it really doesn't.
Because God created it.
Because either way, God created it.
Right.
And so, went through all those classes, got confirmed. I wasn't like super devout in it. Like, I wasn't going to mass every single week. I wasn't going to confession every single week, but I was still part of the church and everything. And I was dating, now my wife, I was dating Kaylee at the time. And, we started getting more serious about, eventually getting married. And I was like, I think you should go to the confirmation class. She goes, absolutely not. I'm like, well, why not? She goes, not doing it. I was like, but why not? She goes, I don't want to sit there and take a class to learn about this stuff. I can just go ask a preacher. And I'm like, that's fair. So I talked to the priest about it, and I was like, I'm probably going to end up marrying her. Is that an issue? He goes, nope. As long as you believe in the big things and you can agree on that, then, you can debate the little things. So, we ended up getting married. We moved out here first. We ended up getting married. And the week that we got back from our honeymoon, she was like, we're going to church.
Okay.
And we had tried a couple churches in the past. I told her no Baptist church. Absolutely not. I will not go.
Right.
She goes, well, I'm not going to Catholic church. And I was like, okay, let's find something non-denominational.
Yeah.
We tried a couple churches out, and we came with a 3-strike policy where it's like, we're going to go for 3 Sundays in a row.
Okay.
And after 3 Sundays, if we don't like it, we're not going back.
So you're like 22, 23 when all this happened? How old were you?
No, this was 2020.
Okay.
2021.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. And, but then the Sunday after we got, back from our honeymoon, she goes, we're going to church.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, where do you want to go?
Okay.
And she goes, well, my little sister goes to the Point Church up there on, next to the Firestone. And I was like, okay, we'll try it out. And it was Palm Sunday, and I'm like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know. She goes, I enjoyed it. Because, Palm Sunday is where we have all the kids come up on stage.
Right.
And I was like, she goes, I enjoyed it. And I was like, all right, whatever.
Right.
Well,
You did maybe, but not me.
yeah. And then the next Sunday was Easter when we met you.
Right.
And, I was like, all right, it's different. We're outside, still not 100% convinced. And then we came back the third Sunday, and, I'm take it or leave with the music. I don't care if it's hymns or whatever. I'm not there for the music. Right. But the Sunday after Easter, when you preached, I was like, this guy's really smart. Like he knows how to dumb things down, for lack of a better term, for the average person, but he's still able to speak, with the intellectual authority.
Awesome.
And so,
thank you for the compliment.
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, that's a sign of a good preacher. I mean, or a good pastor is being able, I guess preaching and pastoring are two different things. Sign of a good speaker.
Part of the same thing.
Yeah. It's being a good speaker is being able to communicate effectively.
Right.
And you really did that. And I was like, okay, I'd like to keep going back there. So we kept coming back every now and then. And then you had the Weird Summer series.
Yeah.
And you did Weird Politics.
Right.
And you just mentioned something about like changing the political landscape of Gaston County. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I need to talk to him.
Yeah.
So I pestered you for a couple of weeks, and then we finally had lunch at Sammy's.
Yep.
And I was ready to talk about, like, the politics, talk about my political party and
right.
kind of see where you line up and everything. And we spent 2 hours there, only talked 10 minutes about politics. The other 2 hours was you just trying to get to know me as a person.
Yeah.
And I left that lunch. I texted Kaylee, and I was like, we're going back to this church. This is where we need to go. Cool. This is where we need to be. So,
well,
been there ever
you're
since.
An engaging guest, man. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed getting to know you.
That was a good, 10 minutes.
That's right. That's right. Well, but it's interesting that you wandered through that, because for you, the exploration of Catholicism was kind of like, I've discovered God's real, but I don't like the way I experienced it when I was growing up. I want it to be something different. And so therefore that was part of the attractional part of God drawing you back to him in that step. And great story. I mean, I'm just grateful we got to be a part of it. And man,
it's still going.
Yeah.
A lot of blank chapters left to right. So
fantastic. So you've just recently made the decision to go public with your faith now, that you feel like you're really anchored in your faith and you want to demonstrate it through baptism. Yep. Was there a tripwire or a tipping point that made you go, I need to do this? This is important for me, not because somebody's telling me to do it, but it's important for me.
Well, so y'all really emphasize baptisms a lot, saying it's a public expression. When I was a kid, I got baptized when I was like 6, but 6 or 7. I barely remember it.
Right.
And I really don't think that as a kid I really understood what it meant.
Right. And there's a danger in that, and we try to take time not to do that with our kids too quickly.
And that's a good thing, because I mean it is a big deal, I think.
Right.
In Catholicism, baptism, you're christened as a child.
Right.
And if you're brought into the church as an adult, then they baptize you like that. But at the same time, you don't get rebaptized. If you're baptized once in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, then you're good. You're set. It counts.
Okay.
Because that was one of the questions I asked when I was going through confirmation was, do I need to be rebaptized even though this is what happened? He goes, no, you're good. As long as it was done in this way. Do you have a baptism certificate? And I was like, no. He goes, well, can you get at least 2 witnesses to write a letter? So I called some people, and they're like, yeah, I'll write something for you. So that's, I was like, okay, I don't need to get sprinkled. I'm going to get my hair wet. Had a lot shorter hair back then. But, I was like, okay, whatever. But then coming into this church, it was like, the way y'all emphasized it was very different to me. Growing up, it was always, you get saved, you get dunked, and you're good.
Right.
But this is more of you are professing something, like you are actually making this statement.
Yep.
And that was never really explained to me as a kid. And then, of course, in Catholicism, it's a sacrament, it's a requirement.
Right.
But the way y'all talk about it, it's completely voluntary.
Right.
And it's because you are ready to take that next steps. Hey, podcast.
Right. That's exactly
take the next steps. And so it would kind of been in the back of my mind for a while, but I really wasn't, set on it. And then here I go again, making a deal with God. Yeah. I was like, I got fired, full disclosure, and I was like, I'll get baptized if I get a job.
Okay.
And I was kind of getting excited because I had a couple interviews that went really well, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna get this job. I'm a lock, and I'm gonna get this job. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get baptized.
Yeah.
Well, then they turned me down for the job.
Okay.
And that excitement and feeling that I had about getting baptized didn't go away.
Right.
And that's when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
Now I'm doing this for the right reasons.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I'm like, am I doing this for the right reasons? Because I was talking to Nathaniel about it, and I was like, I feel like if I am only doing this because I got the job, it's like I'm doing this as a thank you,
Yeah.
as opposed to the big thank you,
Right.
And that's kind of what made me be like, I know I'm doing it for the right reasons now.
Right. That's cool.
So, yeah.
So tell us why Nathaniel is so pivotal in your journey. It's because you really you've taken the time to make sure he could come up and see and witness this too. So he was that confidant, or tell us about Nathaniel, how important he is to you.
We were roughly the same age. I think he might be a year older than me. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
he was homeschooled, and he lived like 2 doors down from me in Cottondale. Small town.
Yeah.
200 people, and 2 boys around the same age.
Yeah.
Living right next to each other. Like, you're going to become friends.
Sure.
And when I was I don't remember, I was like 8 or 9. We decided to be prayer buddies.
Okay.
And then of course I moved. And my parents were thinking like, okay, he's probably not going to lose touch with him and everything. But no, like we and him kept in touch
Wow.
all the time. Like we would call each other, we'd email each other because we just both got emails. So we'd email each other, and then we'd write letters and stuff. And so we really kept in touch. I'd spend a week at his house every time I went down to Florida.
Awesome.
So great guy. And he was the person that I called when I was like, I don't believe in God anymore. And he didn't try to like convince me otherwise. He just said, sometimes it's hard,
Yeah. So he's walked through that journey with you.
Yeah.
So did he go to Charlotte too, or did he go to school down there?
He actually didn't go to school. He just got his tech stuff, and now he's the manager of a IT in a hospital.
Fantastic.
So he went the smart way.
Good job, Nathaniel.
Yeah, he didn't waste money on going to school and partying for 4 years. He's like, I'm just going to go to work.
Right.
Cool. But what really made me realize like how
not that everybody does, but a lot of people do, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I did.
Yeah.
I 4.5 years. It was like, all right, cool. I majored in tailgating and I minored in partying. So with a little bit of education mixed in there.
Yep.
That was my experience. But it was I was down there one time, and it was in high school, and he would always have to go to work in the mornings and just leave me there at his house, but he would never give me passwords to his computer. Still angry about that, by the way. Just give me the passwords. Like, it wasn't that difficult. I'm not going to do anything. But he would never give me the password.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you do when you're 16, 17 years old, you're at your friend's house and you don't have access to anything?
Right.
Like, you get through his stuff.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. You're just going to start going through all this stuff. He's a straight edge guy. Like, I don't think I'm trying to find dirt on him or whatever.
Right.
I was somewhat trying to find dirt because I'm like, I'm going to blackmail him.
Yeah.
Like my best friend.
Get the password.
Yeah. But I was going through some of his notebooks, and these things were thick. And it was just this list. Had people's names, had events, whatever. It's a list. And at the top of every list was my name.
Wow.
And I was
at
like,
the top of every list was your name.
every single page, top of the list was my name. And
Wow.
I would keep flipping through it, and I started to realize, like, oh, this is a prayer journal.
Wow.
Because I noticed it's like, so and so's heart surgery, so and so's sick, this event coming up. Like, my name was at the top of it every single day.
Wow.
And that's when I realized it was this prayer list.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how far back he'd been keeping those.
Yeah.
But for the fact that something this thick had my name on every single page, and realized like, this guy has prayed for me every single day. Like, that was one of the first things he would pray for.
Wow.
And so
How cool is that?
Oh yeah. So he was the best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding because we made a deal when we were like 12.
Okay.
We're gonna be each other's best men. And he never knew that I had done that.
Okay.
He never knew that I had gone through all this stuff until the best man speech, when I was like, everyone's making a big deal about how good of a deal that Nathaniel's getting. He's definitely marrying up, and he did. She's more normal than he is.
Okay.
But she's a great wife. I love Kristen. She's awesome.
Awesome.
But I was like, one thing that I don't think anyone's talking about is how good of a deal that Kristen's getting. And I told that story that he prayed for me every single day.
Right.
That when I was probably at my worst, like doing all this other stuff I shouldn't have been doing, that I was telling him how horrible Christianity is and how horrible God is, and trying to convince him to turn his back on his faith he's had forever. That he still prayed for me every single day. He never gave up on me. And so if that's what he's going to do for his friend, imagine what he's going to do for his wife.
Yeah.
And
wow, that's a great way to put it.
So, yep.
So cool. So this Sunday, you're getting baptized. As we record this, it's the first Sunday in June coming up, and Nathaniel's going to be here. Hey, I think it would be cool if he'd come up there with you while we're doing the baptism, or if he'd be willing to be recognized. But we'll leave that up to you and him.
I'll let y'all work it out.
All right.
I don't care.
We'll arm wrestle about it or something like that. So not only have you come and attended our church, you've taken lots of steps. Tell us some of the things that you've done to help you grow closer to Christ as you've been part of our church family.
Honestly, I was really apprehensive about doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up in the church, it's like you're forced to do it.
Yeah.
It was a weird experience
to be able to choose it.
To volunteer to do stuff.
Yeah.
The first group that we did was Financial Peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I knew I was bad with money. I knew I was in debt. And Kay was like, we're going to do this. We're going to learn about this. We'd watched all the videos and stuff about people talking about it.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction to group life.
Cool.
And it was with Dave Ramsey, and I didn't like the hardcoreness of it, and I stuck. I went to the group and everything, and met a few people, kind of liked it. Kaylee got way more involved in it than I did, but then Joe Sangle came in, so I signed up for the next group.
Right. Then now I was broke.
I was broke. But
now I'm not. Right.
Yeah.
Same kind of subject matter, but he presented it differently.
I liked it a little bit more. He said you can still live your life. Dave Ramsey, it's like you go stare at the blank wall until you're out of debt or die.
Okay.
Interesting
contrast.
Yeah, so I mean, I liked it a lot more. We got a little more involved, and then I signed up for my first non-financial group as well, and it was just me, Gage, and Zach Souther.
Right.
Real small group. I would always joke like you're cutting in my NASCAR time, but I really got to know Zach and Gage pretty well. And then
was that during? It was post COVID.
It was post COVID. Yeah.
It was 21, 22.
Yeah, this was 22.
Okay.
Because it was the first spring semester that we were there.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I saw that y'all had built that stage in the back where you put the cameras.
Yep.
And Jonathan had said something about we need people to come run the cameras and stuff, and I was like, that's something I can do.
Yeah.
Because Kaylee was already kind of getting involved in Collision. She was already in a couple other groups, and I was like, I can do that. Yeah. I don't want to have to greet people. I don't want to have to smile and wave and shake hands and stuff, but I can run a camera. Yeah. I can, do this other stuff. So volunteered for that, and I love it.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun. And
you're good at doing it. You've done both the still cameras and also the camera that is mobile and on your shoulder and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that thing's surprisingly heavy.
Yeah, is
it? I don't know what Brent's stacking in there, but it is heavy.
Yeah.
Because I'll walk around, because the hunter will walk around with the camera on his side.
Yeah.
And then I like it on my shoulder.
Yeah.
But I'll keep switching around, and so after every service, I'm like, God, I'm sweaty.
Yeah.
Arms hurt.
Yeah.
I hope I got some good shots.
Well, and just thank you for doing that, because we live in what I would call, and other people have called it, I've adopted the term, a phygital age. Yeah. Meaning there are people that are going to be physical and present as always, quote unquote, but also they're going to be people digitally with you because of whatever reasons, whether it at first was because of fear of COVID, now because of vacations and stuff people take. The great thing is that there's always an opportunity to be sinking in with your church body, whether you're physically present or digitally present.
Yeah.
And that's debatable. Some people are like, it's not this way unless it's this, or it's not this way unless it's that. But we just believe it's important to reach out to both environments, right?
Well, either way, if you're in person, you're going to have that more community feel.
Right.
But if you're not able to be there physically, you're still hearing the message, you're still getting to listen to the music, you're still getting all the same stuff.
Right.
Just without the hand-to-hand contact.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with either one. I mean, I think personally it's important to actually be involved in a community.
Right.
But that's something that really impressed me about The Point, was how much at first I thought we were really catering to the online crowd. I was like, we do. I was like, I think we do too much for it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is kind of whatever, but it's something I can do, would help out. Until Jonathan showed me the numbers,
Yeah.
showed everyone the numbers, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
we actually are doing a lot more than just broadcasting it on Facebook or YouTube. Like, these are significant numbers.
Absolutely.
And but
Somewhere
what really,
from the 3rd to 40% of our audience every Sunday is online.
and sometimes it's even more
More than that, that's
on.
right.
But what really impressed me, and I tried to convince Nathaniel about, was he's like, yeah, it's, we just do it like a live stream just to do a live stream. I was like, we actually engage with ours. We make sure that the audience outside of the four walls feels just as welcome as the audience inside.
Right.
And the fact that we have digital groups where
Yep.
people can join groups and not have to be physically there.
Yeah.
That was something that really impressed me. Is like, if we're going to cater to the online crowd as much as we're catering to the in-house crowd,
Right.
then we need to make them feel welcome and involved. And we've done a great job of that, I think.
Awesome. Well, I'm grateful that you've been a part of that, an integral part of that. So you jump back in. The theme that I keep hearing for you is you get to now instead of you got to.
Yeah.
And so you're able to take those kind of steps. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, tell us about Kaylee. How'd you fall in love with Kaylee? Where all that come about?
So I was in a fraternity in college.
Okay.
And one of the things that...
Which one?
Kappa Sigma.
Kappa Sigma.
We're
okay.
not on campus anymore.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
We're coming back, though, eventually in 5 years. I don't know the details of it.
Okay.
One of the things that a lot of us were trying to do was get T-shirts from every sorority's formal event.
Okay.
And so we would all like sign up to go to their formals, which is basically it's like prom, but for college students.
Right.
Not really prom. It's just a big party where they serve food.
Right.
And so I was like, I need to get a shirt from Sigma Kappa. Like,
Right.
or she was in Sigma Kappa. That was
Yeah.
hers.
You're Kappa Sigma?
Yeah.
She's in Sigma Kappa.
Yeah.
That kind of seems like you fit together immediately.
Well, so we used to in Greek Village, we used to go, they would all have their big letters outside.
Yep.
We would go and switch them around so the front of their house would say Kappa Sigma.
Okay.
So Sigma Kappa. That was always fun to be like, why are you doing this? Leave it alone. We're like, nope, switch it.
Right.
But I needed a T-shirt from Sigma Kappa, and I had made plans to go with this different girl, and that girl was psycho. She was crazy. Like, when I say like she was crazy, like I went on a cruise for spring break, and
Yeah.
she was like, how dare you leave me here? And I was like, we're not dating. I'm literally just in this for the T-shirt.
Yeah.
So I texted my mutual friend, and I was like, hey, I need to find a different date for your formal. She goes, oh, I have
Right.
someone.
Okay.
And so then
Instead
Yeah.
of the Dateline stalker.
yeah, instead of the stalker. So she set us up. I texted her a little bit, and I asked her, I was like, hey, do you want to get together before formal so we can kind of know each other first? And she goes, yeah, sure, we can do that. I was like, what do you want to do? She goes, oh, we can get dinner somewhere. And I was like, all right, cool. We'll go to the dining hall, Sovi. It's South Village Dining Hall. It's like, she goes, I don't know, I'd rather not go on campus. And I was like, all right, well, let's just go to Jersey Mike's. And she goes, I don't know, how about we go to Chili's instead?
Okay.
She basically told me, she goes, if you want to go out to dinner, then you're going to take me to Chili's.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, like, I'm just doing this for the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then I saw her walk into my car, and I was like, wow, she is gorgeous. And then I heard her talk with her Gaston County accent, and I was like, wow. So for me, it was love at first sight. It took a lot of like me trying to convince her otherwise. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, you need to love me back too,
Yeah.
we kind of
Cool.
started dating a little bit off and on for a little while until eventually I was like, we both kind of agreed, like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this for real. We're not
Right.
just going to go back and forth. Like, if we're going to date, we need to date.
Right. Exclusively.
Right.
Right.
And so we did, and we've been together ever since. It hasn't been easy, honestly.
Right.
A lot of ups and downs.
Sure.
Marriage was, we were already living together before, but, taking that next step and actually a legal document saying
Yeah.
that we're together forever was
Yep.
different. But
How long have you been married?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
But, yeah, so we've had our ups and downs, but, ever since when I lost my job, she was like, we're going to make it. We're going to make it work. She's
Right.
definitely been the bigger person many times. She's definitely been the one that held us together.
Right.
And
Just encouraging you when you're down.
exactly.
And that's certainly a great part of a relationship, right? When
Right.
somebody's there to do that.
And she's the one that made me come to church. She's like, you need to sign up for groups. And you need to volunteer for something, like I wouldn't have ever come to the point if she hadn't told me we're going to church. I wouldn't have gotten involved if she hadn't told me I need to get involved.
Right.
And then just, having our church friends who, I hate to say the phrase church friends, but like, having our friends who we met in church really has made us, I would say, stronger as a couple too.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of these people say things like, "Oh yeah, the church definitely saved our marriage." It's like, I think it did. Like, I think we would have failed if it hadn't been for us getting involved in a church community that supported us just as much as we supported them back.
Right.
So,
Cool. And that's exactly what church is supposed to be about. It's about building one another up and sharpening one another. And I love Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Right. So there's a chance to do that. So, man, you've got lots of great things. And so here's the deal. What I heard out there, too, is that you, with your great project management skills, might be available to somebody that might be watching. Is that true?
I'm starting my next step in a career.
Okay.
I don't want to really talk about because I don't know what it really is yet.
I understand.
But I do start Monday.
Okay. So you got another job.
Yeah. So
That's
I got a job lined up. It looks promising.
Good.
But, I'm always on the market. So
yeah, that's right. Highest bidder. He comes to the highest bidder who's out there, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
All
right. Well, so Nate, let me throw you. This is kind of a hot seat time. Let me give some hot seat questions. Since you kind of gave us the context of Florida and Alabama and all that kind of stuff, so we know you like Florida State, right?
Used to.
Okay, so you used to like Florida State. At least you talked to the lady in the admissions office.
Yeah.
Who probably needed to be fired for giving you an unethical judgment. Or maybe she did you a favor. Who knows, right?
She saved me $50.
Yeah.
And I wound up in Charlotte. So.
And you wouldn't have met Kayla either, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you to that lady who happens to be out there for those things. All right, so then what I'd say is University of Miami or University of Florida?
Hard neither.
Okay.
Charlotte's playing Florida in football next year, and I've never liked the Gators. My brother went to UF.
Okay.
And so we and him were going to go down to that game together, and I've just been trash talking him for like the entire year. Since the game was announced, I was like, hey, I heard Gator meat goes well with ranch. Is that true? I want to find out.
So you're definitely a loyal fan.
Definitely.
I'll go to a different way then. USC or Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
Okay, there we go.
Notre
Good
Dame.
deal. So I want to make sure to get that. Night or day? You a night guy or a day guy?
As I'm getting older, more of a day guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're sleeping more at night used to?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
I used to drive 12 hours straight through the night. Like, I would leave at 6, drive to Florida 12 hours, get there at 6. It's like, I have the whole day ahead of me. Now it's like, I'm going to leave at 7 a.m. and I will get there when I get there, and I'm going to go right to bed.
Yeah, I get it completely.
Yeah,
definitely. Harry Potter or Hunger Games?
Come on. You should know this.
I should, but I'm just
Harry
asking.
Potter all the way, man.
Okay.
That's why I dressed as a wizard for Halloween.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Oh, yeah. Fun story about Harry Potter, though.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So my deep South Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Harry Potter was always off limits, always banned. My mom believed all the stuff about it. If your child reads Harry Potter, it's like opening up a gateway straight to hell.
Yeah.
And they're going to learn witchcraft and stuff. My mom 100% bought into it.
Yeah.
With the North Carolina, things a little bit more relaxed. A lot of people in the church were like, it's just a book about kids. I mean, how can you say, Harry Potter's bad when in Lord of the Rings there's a little necromancy? Like, I was like, okay, well, I still don't want him reading that. I was like, Mom, please, like, everyone else is reading this. I want to read the books. I was 11 years old, by the way, which is how old Harry is in the first book. I was like, please let me read it. She goes, okay, well, if you read the Left Behind series for kids, I'll let you read Harry Potter. So I blazed through them just so I could read the first Harry Potter. And I loved it.
Cool.
I was hooked.
Yeah.
Read through all the books.
Left Behind or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter. Loved it so much, though. The last movie came out when I was 17, which is how old Harry is in that book.
Okay.
And for our honeymoon, I was like, Kaylee gets the wedding, but I get the honeymoon. So for our honeymoon, we went to Universal Harry Potter World.
Cool.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Did she enjoy it too?
Oh, yeah, she did. I made her read the books before we went.
Okay. So she was enveloped in it. She understood the context.
She understood it a lot more. And our cake, actually, at our wedding, one of the big things I'm kind of geeking out. I know everything about Harry Potter.
Everybody's got their thing.
One of the things about Harry Potter is the term always. It's a love thing.
Yeah.
And so on our wedding cake, we had the always on top instead of like the bride and the groom. I had a little always there.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Okay, so Hardee's or Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
So chicken over beef? Not always?
It depends.
Okay.
What kind of beef are we talking now?
All
Are we
right. So
talking
hamburgers or steaks?
That's a tough one. Like, it depends on who's cooking the steak. You know, if you,
Okay,
if, you know,
all
if
right.
you have someone that knows how to cook a good steak, you're going to get the steak. But, you know, hamburgers that's a classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's,
Let's go ahead and make it easier. Handel's ice cream or Tony's ice cream?
I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this. I've never been to Tony's.
Oh, really?
Never
okay.
been, yeah.
All right. So
I've
when
been
you
to Handel's
go,
a couple times, but
there's some good stuff there. A lot of people like the milkshakes and those kind of things. My favorite is Almond Joy ice cream. But anyway, you go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Your heart is. Okay, so California or New York?
can I say hard pass on both?
You definitely can, because you usually do. You've got this dichotomy, right?
Oh,
it's going to be this way or that way.
Well, I mean, not that. I just don't want to. I don't want to go to California. Like, there's a lot of stuff there, and then New York's just too many people. Like, I don't want to go to a place where there's 10 million people trying to ride the subway at once.
Right. Good deal. Okay. Washington D.C. or Raleigh, North Carolina?
That's a tough one. I love North Carolina a lot, but I grew up around Raleigh, so it's kind of lost its charm. But I mean, D.C. has a lot of cool stuff to look at.
Yeah.
So, but D.C. doesn't have an acorn that drops
Okay.
at New Year's. So,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's a point for Raleigh.
The acorn is something
But-
really big to make it different.
But DC also has like the flight museums and stuff. We
Okay.
get to go look at shuttles.
Yep.
So like, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll say Raleigh just because
Okay, you want to be loyal to North Carolina.
Carolina pride.
I love it. Good deal. Water skiing or snow skiing?
So this is really weird. Being from Florida, you'd think that I would know how to water ski and wakeboard and stuff.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Okay.
But being from Florida, I've never seen snow until I moved up here.
Okay.
I can actually snowboard.
Okay, good.
I taught myself how to snowboard.
So are we saying snowboarding, snow?
Snowboarding,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good deal. Fantastic. Hockey or football?
Football.
Um,
Hockey's just a bunch of angry Canadian figure skaters with sticks.
I love it. I'm going to protect you from all the Carolina Hurricanes fans that are out there hearing this out there.
Hey, my best friend's a Hurricanes fan.
Okay.
He's like, you just gotta watch it, man. I'm like, okay.
So we're previous to the series starting. So is it going to be the Nuggets or is it going to be the Heat?
I don't watch the NBA, but I mean, the Heat's. I don't know. My parents my dad's a big Miami everything fan, so
Okay.
I'll just go with that.
So the Heat's hot.
Yep, that's a good way to put it.
I love it. King James Version or English Standard Version of the
Isn't
Bible?
English Standard what you use?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, we'll use that one. I've used the King James before too.
Yeah, that's where the blesseds and the these and the thou arts.
Right, and the thouest and the lovest and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Europe or Asia?
Asia has really good food, but Europe has ancient Rome and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go.
And
with
you're into
Europe.
that kind of history, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Europe.
Good deal. Awesome. North Pole or South Pole? North Pole or South Pole?
Doesn't the South Pole has the penguins, so we'll go with that one.
Okay.
North Pole has polar bears. I'll kill you.
Forget those.
Yeah,
I love it.
I don't care. I don't care if my kids ever see a polar bear because I never saw a dinosaur.
Yeah.
I got to protect those penguins.
That's right. I like
Those
it.
are cool.
Good deal. That's cool. Well, man, it's been so cool to talk to you and to learn about you and Kaylee and your steps you've taken with Christ, and what an honor it is to have you in our church. And just thanks a lot for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, man. Thank you. Go 49ers.
Go Niners.
Go Niners. Niner Nation.
We're coming for you, Tennessee. Look out.
Look out.
By the time this airs, it's probably going to be over.
We'll see what happens, though. Whatever. Even if they beat us, we're still coming for them.
Oh, yeah, we're still coming for them.
I love it. Good deal. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to the Next Step Podcast, episode 12 with Nate Seedorf and Nate Seedorf's Lucky Number podcast, number 12. We'll see you next time.
Awesome.